Hello, this is Dunedain, and I've been reading through some horror stories from customer service representatives today, and I was thinking about how we interact with people while they're working in a professional manner, particularly while we are not. I feel like a lot of times, especially when we feel like a service is being provided to us, we feel a sense of entitlement in regards to people that are working on a project, um, especially if we are the one hiring them to do so, or we feel like they should be performing it for us. And I think a lot of times, while that can be very relevant, obviously if I hire someone to make an ad for me, I would want them to create the ad to my expectations and with the things that I need for it. But at the same time, I feel like sometimes that can overshadow us remembering that, number one, they often have several different interests that they have to keep in mind. If you're working a customer service job, not only do you have to keep in mind keeping the customers happy, you also have to balance store policy, and you also have to balance your interactions with these people. A lot of times, if you're working for some kind of store, they will have a policy for what you can and cannot say to customers, how you interact with them. For example, one of the stories that I read, a guy asked a customer service representative out in an extremely crass manner, and their store policies talking about how you can and cannot deal with customer service. Now, this is someone who her coworkers knew was typically not the calmest person in the world, and she felt sort of held back and almost held hostage by being in a work environment. And I feel like that's something that you have to keep in mind when you're interacting with people while they're working. They do not have the luxury of responding to you the way they normally might in a regular face-to-face conversation. Whether that's they cannot bring up a controversial topic. I know some people that have worked in a public agency where if they interacted with the public, they were not allowed to discuss certain controversial topics because even if it's their view they're expressing to the public, that could come off as a view of the agency or could come across as something that the agency is promoting within their culture. So you have to keep in mind and respect that these people that you're interacting with in a work environment are not going to be able to interact with you the way they might prefer to in a normal environment. And, treat them with respect accordingly. Don't ask someone out if there is any possible way that can make anyone uncomfortable. Like, unless you already know the person very well, probably outside of customer service, and it was something that you had just done on a daily basis and already knew how they'd react, I probably wouldn't do it. I might not even do it then. Same thing with getting angry at someone in customer service. I read another one where the store policy was to not allow backpacks inside the store, and this customer just went off, demanded speaking to a manager, started yelling at the manager, blah, 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 and that's another one, and he ended up calling the higher-ups. It was crazy, but the point is, these people are dealing with a lot more than just you as an individual person while they're working, and you have to keep that in mind, and you have to respect that as much as the customer you want to be provided a service. You have to understand that these are real people that are trying to do their job, usually to the best of their ability. And also, you have to keep in mind that these people are performing this job because they've been trained in it. They have some understanding, if it's customer service, in-store policies, such as the backpack thing. He might not have known that you had to leave backpacks at the door, but the customer service person has been trained that that is what needs to happen, and they are performing their job. Same thing with people in government agencies. I had another person that I knew that was working for the Forest Service, and they were trying to restore a forest to its natural ecosystem. They were trying to make the forest healthier. The forest was very, very overgrown. There were far too many trees compared to what was healthy in that forest. It made it a fire hazard. But they were working in a public forest, and people would come up to them and yell at them for killing the trees, even though they weren't even the one that was going to be cutting them down. Would tell them how they were destroying the forest, would tell them they didn't know what they were doing, that they hated the environment. And that's a case where these people felt entitled to make comments because, yes, it's a public forest. It is something that is provided for them. It is something that these people have seen and been in a long time. But at the same time, they are obviously not trained in how to identify healthy forest, know enough about that ecosystem to recognize that it is unhealthy. And this can cause problems when you're, basically attacking someone for doing their job, especially since, again, they have a limited set of ways they can respond to you because they have to keep in mind that everything they say and do is going to reflect upon the agency that they are involved in. There was another case of one of this person's co-workers getting ridden down, somebody on a horse was yelling at them for doing the same exact thing in the forest, doing their job, marking trees that needed to be taken out because they were unhealthy. And the rider was yelling at them on horseback, rode away, and charged them. Luckily, they did not actually trample them, did not actually do anything to them, but charged them and only turned away at the last possible second. That is endangering not only the person working there, but also the horse, also the rider. Completely inappropriate. And I don't know what makes people feel like they're entitled to interact with people that are working in a professional manner that way. But I think it's something that people understandably get frustrated sometimes, get angry about things, get passionate about things. But when you are feeling that and you are interacting with someone who is trying to perform their job in a professional manner, you have to take a second and step away from that, because these people deserve a modicum of respect too. These people deserve to be treated like professionals that are performing their job. They don't deserve to be made uncomfortable, to be endangered, to be yelled at for doing their job to the best of their ability, especially in cases where you may not have the training or knowledge that they are working off of that dictates what they're going to be doing. And so I feel like that's something that we just need to keep in mind, especially since when we interact with people that are outside of our actual workspace, a lot of times we're only seeing a snapshot of their day. So if I'm really, really frustrated because my computer is broken and I'm trying to get it repaired, and I call customer service of whatever I'm trying to fix on my computer, I'm just one person. I'm one very frustrated person out of hundreds, thousands maybe, I don't know, that they might be talking to that day. And if I'm sitting there screaming at them, I might be the 1,000th person that screamed at them. They might have problems outside of work that are affecting how they're able to perform their duty that day. And by behaving inappropriately towards them, by yelling at them, by refusing to listen when they're telling me a store policy like leaving the backpack outside, all I'm doing is drawing out whatever pleasantness I'm experiencing. All I'm doing is forcing that unpleasantness onto them. And overall, all I'm doing is just making things more difficult, making things more unpleasant, making them less likely to do their best to serve me, because when they see that I'm not treating them with respect, it's going to make them less inclined to help me. It's not going to make them want to do their best job for me. So, I don't know, just keep that in mind, I guess. Next time you find yourself getting frustrated on the phone, I do it too. I've completely caught myself getting frustrated and actually apologized to someone on customer service. I've never yelled at someone. I've never cursed at someone, but I have found myself getting very frustrated to the point where I felt like, you know what, this person doesn't deserve this. And I don't know, I feel like the world would be a better place if we could take that step back sometimes, because I don't always take that step back either, I'll admit that, and I feel like it's something that could always help. In that vein, I have one last personal little anecdote that I would like to talk about. So when I was a teenager, I was old enough to work. I was working in a professional office of a family member, answering phones because they were short-staffed, and it was just for, I think, a day or two. So I was answering phones for them. I get a call on the phone, answer with, such and such business, this is so-and-so speaking, how can I help you? And the person starts immediately cursing me out. Like, full on, no holds barred, cursing out this teenage worker that's there for the day. I don't know what their problem was, because I just went, hold please, and pressed hold and got the family member. And next thing I know, I'm getting profuse apologies over the phone from this person I don't even know, because the person did not realize that they were talking to the family member of the person that owned the business. So, again, when you go in, even when you're frustrated and you're going in, like, I am going to show this person a piece of my mind, this terrible thing has happened, and it's this fault. The person that called thought I was the previous secretary, and that's why they were short-staffed. She had left. She was no longer working there. And so, yeah, that when you go in with that attitude, you have no idea what the rest of the context is. You're missing 90% of what's going on. Even if you think you know what's going on, you don't know all the mitigating circumstances. So, yeah. Tell me your thoughts. Tell me whether you agree, if you disagree, and why. That's fine. Love to hear about it. And that's it. I hope you all have a wonderful day or night, depending upon when you're watching this. And this is Dunedain signing off.